So we have here our first live look at the game. So this is as you said, this is a build that they've seen this battle before. It's maybe the last time they see the battle. But they've seen this battle before, they've seen this map before, but never the full thing with deployment and everything we're going to be running through.
Stop the bottom.
You'll see a lot of your very familiar stuff here. Obviously, deployment is there. Deployment is part of Total War. But again, in terms of the style of the map and the kind of map that it is, it's not miles away from the sort of map that we've had in previous Total War titles. We do have a big spectrum of different kinds of maps, of course. So we're going to have more dense maps. We're going to have more sparse maps. This one sits on the sort of more sparse side of things, but it's not the completely flat, I want to say tournament style map, necessarily. But it's got some interest in it. But it is a good sort of,
it's a good middle ground.
Yeah, exactly.
Presents a few different things. Exactly. Presents some denser areas, some open areas. So it's a pretty good show map.
We should check out that lovely sunset, because it is. That is beautiful. It's
and
grim
look
dark.
at that cannon.
Yeah, I can hear everyone going yapping. But it's lovely. Take it in, isn't it lovely? Look, and a huge amount of work is going into making sure that we capture the feeling, the grim dark, the scale, everything. So massive kudos to the art team for putting off something that looks this wonderful.
Someone called me up very accurately of where's the close beta sign up. That's on the clips that we'll show later, but you're welcome to Google it and find it yourself before that QR code comes up. So we'll talk about just a couple of things here before we actually jump into the battle, because some of this UI is brand new, right? So we want to make sure people understand exactly what they're seeing there. So should we start with reserves?
Yeah,
let's go for it.
Will, do you want to click there? There you go.
Ta-da. So massive disclaimer again, like the actual that panel itself as of very recently completely changed. It is still a panel, but we have strategic reserves. So a big part of this game is basically teeing up the forces that you're going to bring into the battle from your campaign, and having them come in their various different ways. So you may have some opportunity to sort of shuffle some units around during deployment, like what do you want to have your starting army as. But then there will be more restrictions as well. Let's say you're playing Space Marines and you have a fleet in orbit. You'll have some people racked up on that fleet that you won't necessarily be able to start the battle with, but you can join the battle with them throughout using the strategic reserves panel, bringing them in via very violent and upsetting ways, such as drop pods. We don't have... Oh, sorry, Pedro.
I was going to say, you'll have to consider at deployment whether you want to bring your full force in, or if you want to keep some stuff in reserves so that they can fly in on Thunderhawks later to surprise the enemy.
But we're playing the Guard.
We are.
And the Astra Militarum, they do have Valkyries.
They hoof it.
But we tend not to send them down via drop pod because they are human, they are squishy, and they wouldn't survive that kind of impact. So the Guard's playstyle is much more about bringing reserves up the field to sort of meet the enemy and hold the line effectively.
So
which
a bit more like classical Total War reinforcements.
With more control over who and when and where, basically.
Then there's two other things we'll touch on before we get to battle. Actually, do you know what? People seem pretty interested in what we're saying rather than having a go at me for not telling Will to press start battle. So there's two rows of icons above the mini-map there. What are they?
Oh, they're different things for starters.
They are.
So we have the bombardments that you're going to bring into the battle, and again, all work in progress UI. But the explosive, powerful ordnance that you have from off field, or again from your fleet, that again, due to your campaign situation, you will have teed up before this battle. So let's say, in this case, actually, we have our Death Strike God Spear warhead, which is that is coming from off field, right? That is an artillery piece sat off field, ready to get involved. We've done it in our campaign, but we do have a fleet in orbit as well. We have our Lance Strike, and we have
some Valkyries at the ready.
Ready to drop in some missiles. So we've got a bunch of different bombardments that we can drop in, and then we have our army abilities, or in this case,
the orders.
Regimental
orders. So the Astra Militarum has this mechanic where you can enact orders that will spread to units that are within range of Voxcaster. So their playstyle is making sure that you have all of your units close enough to a command unit that can then issue these orders, which will give them different buffs that you will use to manage your situation in the field to adapt to what you need.
Very similar, inspired by their tabletop mechanics, right?
Of course, and again, just how the Guards should operate, right? Again, like coming from the lore, they are waiting for their orders. They are the human wall. So part of that playstyle with the Guard that we'll hopefully see if Will's Will does his does the best he can. Is presenting that strong front and meeting the enemy in the open and then crashing against them and reinforcing. So we'll see how that goes.
Fantastic. Well then, we got a lot else to talk about, but I think we can start the battle and start touching on some of it as Will battles the orcs.
Let's go.
Okay, go on then. So one thing to point out is the Cassicans were not in the deployment zone.
No.
So they had forward deployment.
Yeah, forward scouts. Yeah, classically Vanguard deployment, but yeah, forward scouts. Yeah, so they are able to deploy from the front, obviously with some limitation, and scout out the battlefield for you and have better vision, better visibility. Visibility now being a big deal for the war.
It's a big deal, yes.
Yep. So you can see, we visualize now where things are. We have a fog of war.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it is actually in this build though.
It's not the visuals of it are not engaged, but the mechanics are. Like this is why we cannot see the orcs at the moment.
Right.
But fog of war has a pretty big impact in this game, especially because we're playing in sometimes very dense maps. Buildings, other obstructions will block your fog of war. So part of the strategy might be to destroy sight lines to be able to see where the enemy are coming from.
And we see one of them approaching right now.
Yeah, it's a very eager battle wagon who's currently being very brave and being a little bit suicidal to drive.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I didn't see what he was going up against.
No, that's what he's met a Baneblade. At this point, he's probably made the decision that it's worth just going in and going ham, and he's gone. So he's done the best he can, and he smashed over some cover.
Yes.
Which is probably worth talking about a little bit.
Will moved some people into cover here on this left ruin.
Yeah. And you can see that they'll filter into positions, basically. So we really wanted to keep it as close to the standard control as possible. So this is just part of the drag out. When you're dragging out a unit over a cover zone, they will populate the positions within there. Oh no! Oh no!
And that's what you do if you don't want the opponent to get cover.
It's all good. A bombardment's coming in, so this is all going to get a little bit messy. That Baneblade's trying to contribute though. Which is going to be a rough time for our poor guardsmen. So what this gives us a nice opportunity to talk about is the destruction of cover and how that works too. So we have cover zones. They are pre-established within the map, and it's a combination of the simulation of the actual projectiles being fired and hitting those cover pieces. Those can be destroyed, but within those cover zones as well, we are doing a few things to sort of keep it established. So we have a concept of evasion, and as long as you're within a cover zone, you're slightly harder to hit. The enemy is more likely to miss you, and what gets destroyed does leave behind a little bit of detritus, as you can see. So basically, there's always a little bit of effect there. What we didn't really want is for players to have to sort of constantly think about, is there cover there? Isn't there cover there? Did it move? Did it get fully destroyed? So there is an impact. There is a simulated impact. It will become slightly less effective, but it still holds on to some of its teeth. Which is we're finding to play really nicely. But this is the point of coming to closed beta, right? Is to start to really actually fence this with everyone that is going to spend, I hope, a great deal of time like we are playing this game and enjoying it, and figuring out where to take it and how to sort of really dial into the guts of it. It's gone really well on that left flank, hasn't it?
They've thrown everything at him. Maybe some reinforcements at the back for a second wave.
Maybe get the Baneblade involved. But no, the cover zones. Most of the areas in this map that you see that have tons of cover pieces have sandbags, look fortified. These are the proper cover zones that'll give you both the simulated impact and the buff. But staying behind positions of cover can also exist in some other contexts. For example, if you bring in a very, very large bombardment, it will make a crater. This crater will allow you to dock some units to it to have the simulated benefit of being behind something that cannot be shot at. But in those cases, you won't get the buff because this is not a fortified zone. It's not prepared for cover. It'll give you some advantage, but not quite the same advantage as these areas of the map that are specific for it.
So you get some benefit out of it, and there is some really fun sort of like emergent gameplay that can come out of, are we about to drop the bomb? All right. All silence for the bomb. Here comes the death strike. So this is lovely. I love this. You can see it's left behind that crater there. Obviously that's a massive one. You'll probably get more effect out of the smaller ones that pepper things, and you have different bombardments with different sorts of cadence of explosion that will create different sizes of crater and stuff. Super fun. Awesome. How's it? It's we need the second front. We need the second front. Do you think it's worth talking about projectiles in
one thing. If you look back at that tank, one thing that tank's doing it's trying to do.
Oh, it's trying to get out
It's-
of range.
it's-
It's firing.
It's still flaming them, and you can see some las cannons going off.
I think that's a
there.
melter going off, but yeah,
Oh, there you go, yeah.
he is strafing. Yeah, he's
He is
strafing. So
Moving
we've
backwards.
introduced strafing. It's a modified movement basically. For your mouse and keys, you can hold down Alt as you drag out. You can just move in that direction. It's not limited to vehicles. We want everyone to have this potential to strafe, but with different proficiency.
Yeah.
Let's say that. So. Infantry can strafe, everyone can strafe, but we want to make sure that the different sort of asymmetry and skills of the units are represented. So guardsmen, etc., they'll be able to move backwards slowly whilst firing. Orcs can do it if you're that organised and really want to be backing away. It's not the play style you want to go for with orcs necessarily, but when it really shines is where you get your powerhouses like Space Marines who are so powerful and super accurate.
Don't lose any accuracy by doing it.
Exactly right. So there are negatives to strafing, but what it allows you to do is you move sideways, move backwards, and really reinforce your positional gameplay. Because I think a really big part of what makes Total War so crunchy and fun is the positional gameplay. Like, oh no, little craters and lots of limbs.
That's always been our objective. So we're building a game in the 41st millennium, and we want to bring all the good Warhammer goodness, but we still want this to feel like a proper Total War game.
Yeah.
So Total War is a lot about positioning and moving your troops in the right place and attacking the enemy from the right angles. So we still want to drive gameplay primarily through that.
Absolutely. I guess we'll talk more about like how the combat paradigm works later.
Yeah.
But that positional gameplay is super important, right? So things we'll talk about it later. But yeah, the suppression, flanking, etc. At range is all really important to take down your opponent and make sure you are enfilading, getting around them, encircling them, and bringing them down. Alongside using cover. Mm-hmm. We need more stuff.
We need more men.
Send in more men. Send in more men.
Something I can't remember if you touched on this when we were talking about reserves themselves, but where are these reserves coming from? If you're on a campaign map.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So this will be your surrounding armies, and people that are up on your people, might not be people, Xenos as well. Those that are on your fleets.
Yep.
So basically, surrounding armies can get involved in these battles. Obviously, there is a total limit of armies that will be able to get involved in a conflict. But yeah, you can bring in in some cases up to 40 onto the battlefield, and you'll be able to get involved. Might be quite difficult to get up to 40 Space Marine units in one place.
Yep.
Right. But that is definitely not hard to do with guard.
Yeah.
So
That is the whole point.
yeah, absolutely. So
A little detail about reserves as well that might be worth noticing is at the top, the balance of power bar. You might notice that it has a little divot and another section that basically indicates how many units are in the field and how many units are still to come in. So you can see that still have a little bit of units to come in from the Esther Mill, and the development in progress is kind of hiding the orc bar, but I believe they have deployed everything at this point, so no more surprises from the orcs.
yeah, we've got a little bit more in the cannon, although they do have a stomper.
Honestly, that
they've got a
taken a
stomper.
beating as well.
Yeah.
This
and
is rough.
He's a scary guy.
Maybe
He's
we'll
a
make
scary,
it.
Scary
Maybe
guy.
we'll make it.
We really wanted to put the biggest thing that we could get away with in a Total War game. We're looking at putting bigger things in later down the line, of course. But yeah, this will be the biggest thing we've had in a Total War. So yeah, I'm very excited about that.
You're going to need that low health Baneblade, Will. That's going to have to shoot that
Don't
stomper.
let him die.
Yeah, you will
Get
need
around him. Awesome.
So you can see here, as we kind of predicted, right? He's got a second wave of the guards.
Yep.
So the first took out what they could, but that's just a huge number of orcs that
Yep.
have just managed to smash through.
Yep.
So now it's up to that second wave, who, looking, I guess, at the corpses of all of the ones who failed before them, having their own go at holding the line.
Yeah, but thankfully there's also some cover positions at the back of the map, so now this is where we're trying to make our last stand.
Yeah.
And we're going to hit the panic button.
Yeah, this
gonna
is
hit
the
the panic
ripcord. So, calling from the fleet, we're going to have our lance strike. This is a hyper powerful, very AP centric weapon. You're not going to be able to use this sort of thing often. It is a really a wow. Okay, he's still
almost,
up.
almost.
He's still up. We got a problem. So. There we go. He's probably on his way out. He's starting to pop.
There he
there
goes.
We go.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Oh, you're out of the other ones.
Boom.
Well, you
Good
see
job.
that die, you're probably going to run on.
Now,
But yeah, we can.
we have to shoot down the routers.
Yes.
It's only right.
We can talk a little bit about the land strike. Our abilities now have this chance that you can decide to continue controlling the ability. You can hold the button and keep guiding the land strike and painting over the enemy if you wish. But then this obviously locks you down to using the land strike and not allows you to not order other units to do other things.
Yep.
But if you want to micromanage, if you want to paint a crayon of death over a very specific set of units. You can hold it and control it yourself and catch, for example, the enemies trying to run away from your laser of death. You can track them and go after them by assuming direct control.
Yeah,
That's an awesome wreck to have to run past as well.
There's a really fun. As we were developing it, there was this really fun moment where we decided to keep it as part of how it works. But you can push it in a direction. And then let it go, and it will continue to travel in that direction.
Right.
Sort of actually like making it into this sort of like horrific Beyblade.
Yep.
Kind of feels right. So yeah, there's a few different abilities that will use this in different ways.
Yep.
Like a macro cannon, it sort of like drops shots over time, etc.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's all about managing your headspace. Do you want to spend your time there? Or do you want to spend your time, doing other things and let it go? So yeah, look at that beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Chasing them down. So we will. It's really annoying me that I've just noticed my foot is slightly off the barrier there. That's going to bug me for the next 20 minutes. All right. So what we'll do is we'll reset this battle because we want to talk a bit about unit cards, and then loads of people have been asking about like firing lines, projectiles. We'll go into a deep dive on that next. Yep. But before we do that, there's one thing that we can only show at the end of the battle, and that is don't press it yet. Don't you dare. And that is the visuals of a unit, right? After they've been attacked and damaged. So if you can find some damaged people, Will.
Hopefully, I would expect. So it's quite hard to find damaged guardsmen, because the damaged ones tend to end up dead, and that is a thing. But yeah, basically, what we want to try and do is get sort of a cumulative effect of what's happened to things across the battle.
Yeah.
So
the Baneblade might look a bit bad.
The Baneblade looks a little bit burned. Yeah. So have you been burnt? Have you been shot? Have you been punched? Have you been cut? Obviously, there's a limit to the amount of stuff that we can do, and it's not like mapped 1-to-1 with bullet holes, etc.
Yeah.
But what it's doing is it's telling a story about like what's happened to that unit or that individual. So by the end of a combat with again like Space Marines, you can end up with some really cool sort of rugged, battered individuals that look like they've been through a hell of a ringer and tell the story of what's happened to them throughout the battle.
Yeah.
And it depends on the type of damage that they take. So the Baneblade, you can see that has a bunch of bullet holes. It means it got shot a lot. Is it a bit burned? It went against some flamethrower units. That's kind of the story it tells.
Yesterday when we did a little run through, there was a commissar, right? It was burned, bleeding, shot, and it was.
I can't be better at something or something else and killing other things. And it really does just add the character and the flavour that this is Warhammer 40,000 is so full of, right? Like as a massive fan, lifelong fan of both these series, right?
Yeah.
It's just seeing that come together and making sure we are representing it just felt super right. But Kazakin, I think, are a really good example of this, right? Because we've got a mixed unit here of like hotshot las guns and plasma rifles, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk maybe about the simple stats first.
You click that expand button, because this is the expanded view, right? So if you click the little plus, Will.
That's the thing. Hang on, that's
that one. So this is with that gone. That's kind of the basic view, right?
There you
go. This is the basic view that tells you the core information you need to know about the unit.
And that's even depending on the tab that you've clicked, will be the basic version of that tab. So if you press expand again, Will, this is then when you're starting to get the more advanced stats.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, the first thing to say is like. All those stats are there.
Yeah.
All those stats there, and if anything, we've got more. We've got more probably stats controlling
than we've ever had.
Than we've ever had. Just to be able to manage all of the complexity of all these different weapons.
And obviously, one of the main complexities introduced is a unit is not just made of a single thing.
Yes.
So you can see that these Kazakins are made out of 4 different groups of entities within the unit that all have their different stats, they all have their different gear, and they will serve slightly different purposes when they engage in a battle.
Yeah, so this is actually probably one of the most complicated units that we have in terms of its function, because a lot of the units have this sort of really like a core primary function that they have, and then we can add specialists and sergeants, etc., to sort of tune them. I'd say about like 20% towards a different direction, like give it a bit more AP teeth, allow it to be a little bit better at sort of like damaging light units, etc. We'll talk about that in a moment. But there's usually like a core function to the unit. This one is quite split, right? Like it's got a kind of an interesting mix of the lasgun and the plasma, which really tee it up to be good against heavy things and good against medium things and slightly different volume. Which is really cool. But I guess it's worth talking about those classes for a moment. If we just nip back to it's at the top there. Sorry, so just looking at the categories, so light, medium, and heavy. figuring out like how everything needed to sort of fit together in this game.
Yeah.
And again, always a part of the discussion I think with everyone is like how do you categorize this stuff? And when you start to break it all down, you start to see that there are things that contain lots of entities and generally have low armor. There are things that contain some entities and generally have sort of a medium threshold of armor, and then you have big stuff that's generally either solitary or a couple of things and is super tanky. There are some things that break that rule, but this top level is not to sort of try and explain everything in super detail. It's that sort of 80% fit of like 80 to 90% fit. These are the sorts of things that you'll be good at damaging basically, and everyone fits within these categories. The wonderful thing is that that's just what they are. So putting all that together has been super fun. And the simplest top level way to explain it without needing to get into that extra 20% depth, which does matter, is that you what are you tuned towards damaging and how much have you got within your unit that can do that. So looking at this Kazakin, for example, they are really mixed. You can see that they're quite specialized, but they're very good at taking out medium stuff. So they'll be actually really good at cracking down Space Marines. That's the sort of unit you want to be going, I get that guy in Tacticus armor, I want to shoot that guy with this one because that will be a prime target for them. But they've actually got some really strong potential to deal with light units, so chaffy stuff, and they've got some pretty decent potential to deal with the heavier stuff. And it all depends on not just the weapons that they have, but the positioning that they're in as well, because these weapons don't just live isolated on the individuals. They're cycling them, right? They're actually switching between weapons under the context that they're firing things.
An individual soldier might have more than just one weapon. They might have multiple, and they will switch to the right thing at the right time to damage what they need to damage.
And we'll show some of that later, because it is, I think, one of the coolest pieces of tech that this engine's unlocked of multiple weapons, context-based. And we've got some great, like, throwing grenades is such a cool use of that. Will, if you could go on just the defensive stats one more time of pick a character unit, maybe the Commissar, and maybe see if you can find the Commissar as well while we read through them. But I've given him such a challenge there. So so we've got a few different things here. Evasion is versus shooting. Your chance to dodge a bullet?
Yes, So you have your melee stats as well. Again, all the stats are there. Fear not. So evasion basically.
You can see the evasion is very heavily buffed because of cover.
And that's what I was going to ask.
Exactly. Yeah. So basically, people are more likely to miss this guy when they're firing at him. So they're more likely to send shots towards him, but not actually collide with him. They'll probably go high or low or to the side. Which is an interesting moment. Should we talk about projectiles?
That is next on the list.
Let's
go for it.
Let's try and finish the stats so Josh doesn't kill us.
If you want to just start playing again, we'll go for it. We'll talk about projectiles while you do. So, have we made any changes to the way projectiles work? Or?
A couple changes. So this is obviously a really ranged, combat-focused game. Almost every single unit, not every single, but almost every single unit shoots something at some point. And some of the units even shoot stuff at ridiculous amounts of speeds and in ridiculous amounts. So to be able to keep true to ourselves, keep true to what really makes Total War shine, which is the fact that we try to simulate as much as we can, we did have to do some upgrades to our engine to be able to manage the sheer amount of projectiles that might be coming out of some weapons. So we've done some technical improvements to be able to go below our usual physics tick rate, to have sub-steps specifically to be able to spawn the sheer amount of projectiles that this game needs. And at any given point, when you have two full armies shooting at each other, you might have hundreds, maybe thousands of projectiles flying in the air. You can see these bolters firing. Every single little projectile you see is a simulated projectile. It's not smoke and mirrors.
It has a parabola. It will travel.
It'll hit cover or a wall or a building
or a someone.
So every one of those projectiles is real.
Yes.
Here, right? It can hit something or miss or misdirect. Or...
Yeah, absolutely. Which adds to sort of the big pile of emergent chaos that makes Total War and then this kind of game so fun, right? Is that it's all there, it's all happening. We try and simulate as much as we can. I love these Storm Boys. They're so much fun. Orky tech is so wonky, like it goes wrong, but sometimes in the way they want, right?
Exactly.
And off they go.
It's like a
when they have some tech missing and they fly off, those two are projectiles in a way.
Yeah, they can hit stuff, they can blow up, they can
Yep.
do damage to stuff, they can coil off and hit a building. That can knock
Yep.
that building down if it's a destructible one. So yeah, you get some really cool moments coming out
Yep.
where you'll just be in this chaotic fight and then a storm boy sort of coils off, blows something up, and chaos ensues. It's super fun.
So I think the as you're talking of them as human missiles, well, orc missiles.
They wouldn't mind. They're having
They
fun.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
I think the thing that really stuck with me, and I have a list of them here, is it's not just a projectile is not just a thing that's shot at a certain rate of fire, right? There are a ton of things that you track to make sure that this feels authentic and accurate, right? I mean, I can list some of those things off, but I've got down here: aim time delay, rate of fire, reload speed, mid-burst delay, burst size, number of bursts in a magazine, if they're continuously firing. What is encompassing when someone goes to shoot? What is everything that's been simulated or checked at that moment?
Yeah, like we
Well,
mentioned.
don't list all of it. Just
No, not all of it. not
Sorry,
all
I
of it.
didn't mean to just go give you 50 things.
No.
What's going on there?
No, we've done an overhaul to how ranged combat works, so this needed an overhaul to how the cycle of firing also functions and all the different stats that can control it. So when an individual guardsman gets an order to fire, he will go through a bunch of steps throughout its fire cycle. And we try to simulate this in a way that we can apply to all different types of weapons, all different types of contexts. So when someone gets an order to fire, they will start by target acquisition, and this will put them in an aim animation. They will pick a target, they will aim towards that target, and they will take some time to zero in. Once they're finished, they will go and start shooting, and they will pop off a shot. They will go into a delay to deal with the recoil and get back into zeroing in, and they'll continue shooting, until they eventually run out of ammo in the magazine, and then they will have to do a reload. But compared to previous Little Wars, where rapid fire weapons would shoot repeatedly, and you always would have to shoot a certain amount until they can be interrupted and do something else. Here, each individual shot is part of this cycle and can be interrupted and can be continued later. So if a unit starts firing and it has 5 shots left in the magazine, and they fire off 3, and you interrupt their order or give them a different order or tell them to move backwards, they will stop firing immediately. They will move out, and the next time you give them an order, they will fire the two left ones, and then they will have to reload. So all this state is kept.
So even on an
and simulated.
individual guardsman level, it's tracking how many. I don't know. It's not bullets in a las. How many lasers are left? How much energy is left in the battery pack, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's it. Well, there's so many people saying, "Can you just show me a guardsman shooting?" Because they love the look of them. So if it won't
Let's
lose you
have
the
a-
battle, just to
let's
zoom in and to
have
see
them
some of
shooting,
them
and
having the worst day of their life.
we can capture. Hopefully, there we go. We've got a sergeant stood proud as well. The
Yes.
commissar sergeants, etc. They don't need to duck.
Oh my gosh, they're in so much trouble.
They need to be exemplar. Really cool stuff.
And
So,
so,
you
someone
can
pointed
see
out as well, they saw
some-
Oberons walking backwards. So
Yes.
strafing, as you said, not
Yeah.
just tanks, everything can strafe, to varying effectiveness, right?
Yeah, all those.
You could see as these guardmen were repositioning, some of them kept their weapon up and they were still firing as they were moving. A lot, if not most, of the units in this game are able to fire while moving. We've disconnected their legs from their torsos in a way. So if they are moving and they have a weapon and there's enemies in front of them, they will be able to shoot at them as they move and as they go into position and without interruption.
It's hard to sort of it's hard not to understate the amount of effort that's gone into the animation system and upgrading that. The anim team, all of them have done an incredible job of sort of like stepping up to
it's been amazing.
push this further than we have in
It makes the
Total
level
War.
feel so much more dynamic when you're watching it.
It's super cool. It just you can see all those different sort of actions blending together, and it keeps them grounded and in the simulation.
All the
which
different
is super
animations
nice.
blend incredibly well. They run, get into cover, duck, get up, fire, and all of this now is not one canned animation that is forced to run. It's can all be composed depending on the situation and the simulation, which is amazing. It's a great job.
Someone asked
Down he went.
someone asked a question there of, and I've seen it a few times, of firing. Right, it's in firing lines. So someone said there was a guardsman at the back there who wasn't shooting, right?
Yeah. So again, on the positional gameplay side of things, providing frontage is like a really important part of successful range combat, right? Is that you want to have more guns pointing at a place, ideally a focused enemy, than they have.
Yeah.
And getting around people and flanking them is all part of that. But also just how you stretch your own unit and how you can sort of space it out will matter. So you can occupy more frontage by dragging your unit out. It's total war. But one thing that we've done here is we put a load of work into the checks that each individual entity is making when they're firing. So the ones at the back are basically going, I can't shoot because my friend's in front of me. And we have a bunch of controls to manage, all data driven, how far they will be comfortable firing over each other's shoulders, etc. So the first couple of rows will be happy to fire. The back few are going to be hanging back and going, I can't fire yet, but obviously spreading them out, you're going to get more guns on target, so that works for your positional gameplay. If you are happy to move out of cover, so you've got trade-offs, of course. There's always a trade-off to how you're trying to put your units around the map. But yeah, what's really cool about it is that let's say a grenade lands in the front line of your unit and kills the ones that were firing. The ones at the back in that moment can then go, well, it's a shame that Jim's dead, but now I can shoot. So it all just again comes together as part of the sim.
You're tracking, I guess, line of sight and line of fire for every individual soldier within there. And they're not just looking.
Mental.
They're not just looking maybe at the thing that's being targeted, right? They're looking around for something to shoot.
Yeah. Indeed. So that's one of the big improvements. That it's small detail, but it's something that I really like. I think it's awesome. If you have a unit in fire at will and they are firing at someone in front of them, the front lines will be able to shoot, but the people at the back might not be. They might be blocked by their own allies. But if there's another enemy unit to the side that one of the soldiers on the left flank can see, they will shoot at that one. So units can, with fire at will, fire at multiple different enemy units at the same time, depending on how much they're blocked and depending on individual and soldier sidelines. Yeah,
it can end up being really cool, especially if you're sort of on a little hump of the terrain where you're sort of straddling a little bit of awkward terrain. That bottom half of the unit might then go, oh, hang on, I can't quite hit that thing on the left, but you might get almost half of your unit basically firing at something else valuable, which feels super good. But on that, and this has been a huge challenge, right? But trying to get units to fire cleanly, over little bumps and whatnot, and make sure that those checks and the shots all come together. We put a lot of work into that. And again, when we get to the closed beta, I think we're really keen to hear feedback on the smoothness and the responsiveness and how this all feels. We try to explain to you where the breaks in line of fire are. So when you're about to hover over an opponent, you'll see a little line that basically appears broken or not, kind of showing you where the line of sight breaker is. So if you do right click, your unit is probably going to move. It's like, okay, I can't see it, it'll move. Or it's like, yep, you're all good to go. That should have the best part of the unit firing. It's quite finicky stuff. It's hard. There's lots of little fine values to play with. But I think we've landed somewhere that feels really comfortable and smooth. It's a combination of all sorts of things, but to bring it together. But we're keen to have people.
Keen to hear feedback.
All of you come and play it and try.
When they're doing all of those checks, they're also checking what's the right weapon to use here.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yes.
Look at the destruction. I love
it. I also like to talk a little bit about sentry mode, since we're talking about these different range behaviors.
Well, I think we may have to we probably won't finish a third battle, but we've still got suppression and flanking fire to talk about, and there's no one left. So I'm going to put
could we just hover over sentry mode?
Yes, hover over sentry mode. Then while you're talking about that, we'll get Will to set back up, and we just need some suppression and some flanking fire, and then we'll move on to the next.
We can verbalize it. If
Sentry mode. Also, a relatively small feature, but I've seen some people in the forums asking if this was going to be a thing. It's a bit of a guard mode for ranged, in a way. It allows you to mark an enemy target. Basically, you're telling this unit, whenever you can shoot at that specific enemy, that's who you're shooting. And this allows you to keep your unit in cover. Let's say you have them very well positioned in a cover position, and you have the enemy line advancing on you, and you're like, I really want my Kaskrin to shoot that knob. Not anyone else. So you give him a sentry order on that enemy, and now you don't have to worry that they're going to move out of position with the ranged attack. They will stay in cover. As soon as they can shoot that, they will. And it also allows you to disconnect your ranged attack in a way from movement, so you can paint a target and then give a move order, and they will keep shooting at that target with fire while moving, prioritizing the one you want.
It's super handy, super versatile. It really does help you just sort of manage, I really need them to pay attention to that thing when it shows up. And it gives you that power to kind of go, until then, carry on. But super cool feature.
All right, well, we're going to see if you can get the battle restarted by the time we've finished talking about some of the things that you're going to show. So we did see it pop up a few times during that battle, especially when things were being shot by small arms fire. Suppression.
Yes.
What is suppression? How does it work?
So suppression, again, yes, like you said, small arms fire. It's suppression or not worrying about suppression, for example, and certain units as well are more or less bothered about it. For example, your tanks, your vehicles, it's hard to suppress them generally, right? Like you can sort of blind them by firing a bunch of twinkling las guns at them. But yeah, ultimately there are different tools for the job, right? So maybe leading the charge with some sort of vehicle to sort of break through and then getting your stuff in, or just chucking in a load of trash that you don't mind getting hacked down because hey, it's Gretchen and boys. That is all totally valid.
And I just want to get a couple of questions from chat that I'm trying to keep in my brain. So the one of the things I saw is someone saying, does that mean they'll obviously the characters being embedded with a bodyguard? Does that mean there'll never be any single entities on their own?
No. So we are obviously no one knows anything yet. We are going. That's not fair. We are going to have single entity units, yes, but most of your characters, unless they are like super powerful and super standout, are going to come with a bodyguard. And this again is something that we're really keen to be part of your specialization of these units throughout your campaigns. So you'll may be able to make adjustments to the bodyguard that they have with them. What they're outfitted with, who they are, etc. In terms of are they Kazakin, are they not, depending on your army. To be able to tailor around your character a little bit more, but it's not a game of throwing out your single hero and slogging away with your single hero, especially because when you look at a lot of the characters, especially for the ASM, the Astra Militarum, they are humans, right? So we don't want to have just a single commissar just punching his way through hordes. That isn't right. That's not how it should feel, right? He's backed up by the guns, and that's his role.
Absolutely. Will accidentally click something there that actually answered the question in chat. Someone said, are we able to shoot the cover? Which you can.
You can shoot the destructible buildings. So the destructible buildings can be targeted. You can strategically remove them to either drop them on opponents, open up line of sight. So actually this is a cool space here, right? Because you can make some decisions. You can decide to take these buildings out before the orcs arrive, and then you've got a clear firing line to shoot at them. You can wait to try and spring a trap and drop it on them if you'd like as well, and that will hopefully be quite effective if this comes in. There we go. And that will probably hurt quite a bit as well. So there are different ways to use these tools.
But as you might expect, different units and different weapons will be more or less effective against the building. So we first started shooting some las guns at a building, and it doesn't do much.
And obviously, while all of the UI, you pointed out some of the bits that are even newer than this. We haven't gotten this build right, but while the UI is all is still being worked on, I do think one of the things I'd say the strength of the card system we've got here is that is 22 units. At the moment in our current Total War titles, showing 22 units squashes so much, but it feels here when I've got 40 guard out, I've got a little bit more room here to play with, which is very nice. So another question someone had, and I don't know how much we can say about it. I've not really asked anyone. But a bit
you're asking now.
God. Psychers. So how would psychers be represented if they're part of a bodyguard group? Would they have an ability to?
Right. Absolutely. So it would then give the unit once you've clicked on it the appropriate ability, and then when you cast it, that psyker is going to within the unit pop that out there. Of course, what can happen is that psyker can also die, and then you will lose access to that ability as part of the unit.
And those unit cards, they dynamically update, right? So if all of your plasma gunners die, you're not going to have. It's going to say you've got 0 plasma.
It will show you that they've been wiped out. Absolutely.
Okay, suppression. We've spoken about suppression. You've suppressed some people.
So that was suppression.
Flanking fire.
So much to talk about. Flanking fire. This is something we're actively working on how this works. We're not completely happy with the implementation that we currently have in, but the aim here is to make sure that flanking is present with range, right? So what this is doing is if you're getting around opponents and hitting them in the sides or back, we are basically making it easier to hit them. We are actually playing with the armor a little bit as well, but it feels a little bit too, frankly, it's a bit too abstract. We're not super happy, like I said, with the solutions we've got at the moment. We're working through some stuff, but the aim is to make sure that we are rewarding that positional gameplay, right? So flanking fire really matters. It's definitely going to make a big impact on your morale, right? So again, morale gameplay is super important. It's an important part of what Total War is. Breaking the will of your opponent is just as valid as breaking the bodies of your opponent, and they tend to come somewhat hand in hand, depending on the situation. But we wanted to make sure that's rewarded. So if you're getting around your opponents, you're going to trigger flanking fire, and then you're going to be gaining the benefits of that as well.
Fantastic.
And you can see the little orange arrows showing up on the unit cards as well as the IDs. That's kind of what indicates if a unit is getting flanked or if it's getting suppressed.
Absolutely,
Awesome. Okay, there's so many little questions. A lot of these actually I think we have
do it
answered
again.
earlier. But the point of this here is we've called this Alpha Strike, right, on range combat. We're trying to go as deep into everything as we can. That means we won't have time for every question because there are so many other things still to cover. And speaking of, the next thing we will be talking about is cover.
But there is a beta. Remember, there's a beta.
There is a
right?
beta.
There's a beta, and you can do the thing.
Exactly. Okay, I think Will, your watch is over, and I think we're going to be able to move on to the clips now. So thank you so much for playing,
Well done.
and you're charging into someone who does. So both of these are shooting at each other.
Yep.
But those with cover, obviously, we can see are having a much better time of it.
This is kind of like a wombo combo of what not to do when approaching an opponent. A single unit running at an opponent that's in cover, so they're moving and firing, right? That's going to be reducing their accuracy. He's sort of getting broken apart here. They're getting suppressed. And they have no protection. They're firing at an opponent that is harder to hit. So it's all sort of sticking things together. However, and look at that guy stumbling around. However, they do have some quite good weapons to counter cover, like flamers, which really don't mind. They spit so much fire, it's not needing to be accurate. But yeah, that was an extreme situation of you run at that, you're gonna end up in pain.
And is all cover identical?
No, so we have a couple of types of cover. We're going to have a lighter cover that'll be reserved for sort of the more natural, like shrub-like stuff, trees, etc. And then we have standard cover, and that's this here. Moving into that, we did also discuss earlier the craters too, right? So I guess going over that again, Pedro.
I mean, aside from the cover that's already on the map, you can make your own by bringing in a big enough bomb to make a hole in the ground.
Absolutely, it doesn't gain all of the benefits that we have from the established cover, but it still gives you that incidental effect of the projectile. Again, we've spoken about it now. Physical projectiles will actually hit that cover piece, and they then make a check as to whether they should be able to penetrate it, right? Like, because some things can go straight through. They can damage it, they can destroy it, or they can go straight through it, right? So that makes a difference. This is very upsetting.
A pretty insane unit.
This is a pretty balmy unit. So the specialists within this unit, they are carrying a bunch of flamers, right? And they've gotten close enough to be able to bring them to bear. We're fighting against an opponent who actually isn't very well teed up to deal with a light unit as well. They're much more
very plasma focused.
Yeah, exactly. So they're why this works, why it's cool, is because they're firing infrequently, right? And the things that they're firing are like not maybe even like the most sometimes not the most accurate things, right? So basically, like they're firing slowly, and it matters when they miss. So they're better at firing at big targets that are easier to hit. So when they're firing at lots of little things, that slow rate of fire really does start to hurt, right? So you want to be tuning and making sure you have the right sorts of things lined up. But getting close enough with the right kind of weapon can be disastrous.
It can. I will say in this clip, because I recorded this one, that guard unit do end up actually losing. Because the Cassicans throw some grenades in and they kill half the flamers.
Really?
And then they struggle to come back from losing that many of their flamers. Yeah.
Awesome.
I think it's worth mentioning, like, these examples of guardsmen running in the open against things.
Yeah.
It's generally a really bad idea.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons. Even when you are in cover and when you get to put your units into like these proper cover areas in the maps, they will break out of their formation, they will occupy the space in a way that feels natural, and they will naturally break their block. If you are outside of cover, just on the ground, they will be blocked because that's kind of what defines the unit. But that in itself, it's also the disadvantage of being out of cover is your unit is blobbed up. If the enemy decides to bombard you, they are going to suffer heavily.
And we can see here, like, cover helps against range combat, right?
Yeah.
If they've charged
doesn't necessarily help against melee combat. So one of the ways to deal with an entrenched unit is to get in there with something that can punch hard and punch it. Obviously, there's challenges there because you don't want to just dive at them, but getting into a position where you can get them close enough, using the terrain, suppressing the opponent, using a unit that can jump, like your Storm Boys or your Assault Intercessors with jump packs, they can all help sort of give you a tool to counter that cover, or just blow them up. Like if you have a bombardment and you want to spend it there, then sure, you can get away with really disrupting the opponent and then sending in a wave after to sort of clear them up. So there's some lots of really cool synergy there. Look at them punching. There's a neat little moment in this as well, actually. So shooting. Always shooting. So firing in melee, we developed a feature to support shooting when in melee. So they are literally, when the situation is right, if they've got bullets in the chamber, they're going to pull the trigger. And that really helps with sort of getting across the right kind of feeling to all these units. Again, these Ogryn with Ripper guns, right? That thing is horrifying, right? And the bayonet is scary enough, but it's kind of like a horrific shotgun, right? Like a chain shotgun. It's scary, and unloading that into someone's chest is going to be incredibly effective. So it really helps that the units sort of have these different weapons to make them powerful at close quarters and sort of
and it's not just for units that are actively engaged in a melee engagement. When a unit of a bigger unit entity count is engaged in melee, maybe the front line is fighting in melee, but the back line would just be waiting. But with this system, the back line that is idle, if they have a sight, they can pop off some shots as a ranged order instead of just waiting for their turn to melee.
They're opportunistically kind of.
Can't wait to show everyone Assault Intercessors.
Oh yeah,
I'm so excited to show Assault Intercessors. We'll get there. Yeah.
We will.
It's not today. I'm sorry. I just realised that's not today.
It's not.
But we will be showing them. They're cool.
I have shown this clip before, but someone asked a question that I think Pedro you'd be able to answer of what guns are they prioritizing at any time? So it's the actual question was, with weapons that have got different ranges, what will a unit prioritize during an attack order? So the flamers here, when are they knowing how to prioritize them?
Yeah, so typically the way this works is each group within a unit will have a primary weapon, and this primary weapon tends to be their all-rounder, the weapon that they will use when they don't have any other...
Right, with their coiling off and exploding, there's a chance that vehicles will also get up to that mischief too, right? So they might veer off and crash into something and explode, all through a number of different chances and what hit it, etc. And we're using that in a number of really interesting ways. I'd love to get into detail with that in another one. Maybe,
that'd be cool.
So,
a kind of question, maybe request, was if guardsmen aren't in combat for 30 seconds, would they then take the time to reload?
They will, but it's something that we're still kind of fiddling with, basically.
How do trees work in terms of blocking projectiles?
You're going to shoot them.
They will block
get
them.
Hit, and then they're going to fall down or
eventually
explode.
get destroyed.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I can rapid fire. Other ones I've seen that have been asked, we have actually answered earlier. So here we're talking about height, right? So height differences in colour.
I like how you moved your hand.
And they can't see me. So
yeah, exactly. Remember, this is height. Height.
Yes.
Yeah. So height, again, positional gameplay really matters in Total War, and an important part of that is outpositioning your opponent. Height really matters, and it's a really cool blend of the simulation and a few levers. We can do things like we can change damages, etc. But a large amount of what is happening here, again, is an improvement to the accuracy of the unit. So these guardsmen on the left have an elevation over the ones on the right, so they're firing down at them and they're getting a bonus to their accuracy, which is sort of overcoming that cover bonus, right? So now it's like a almost direct counter to the cover is get above it and fire down into it. But alongside that, there's a simulated aspect, right? Which is that when they're firing at them, they are physically higher than them. So all those collisions, those things that would block the projectiles, the sandbags, etc., they're firing over them now, right? They're firing down into the cover. So the simulation is also sort of boosting the effectiveness of it. You can see there, this is like a
This is
slaughter.
the most dramatic one we've had.
And the grenades are putting in lead work here to sort of try and
the other ones only had flamers, I think.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They're in trouble.
But you can really see, like, the unit that's firing up, because this is an extreme situation, they're barely actually getting hits off now on the guard that are firing down onto them. So it's a huge advantage to be able to get up onto a cover position that's higher and fire down into another one. It's still better to be in cover than not, frankly, but it's a fun counter to it.
Yes. And this is the most extreme example I could create, but really it is the grenade launchers are doing a ton of work there, because we're talking about tracking all of the individual projectiles, right? Billion of them on screen.
Whoa. You heard it here first. You're delivering that now.
Oh no. So you can see them all fire. It's all being tracked, and that is
We have had some fun bugs where people shoot the cover in front of them and sometimes blow themselves up. There have been some.
I think there's a couple of instances in this clip where a grenade hits the cover right in front.
And
it can happen.
Where it makes sense, we have rules and controls, and we'll put in rules and controls to make it feel smooth and feel good. But our attitude towards developing a lot of this stuff is we start by going to the simulation. So massively toned down. But that is how it will ultimately work. If you could ever get yourself into a position where you could move your Kazakh into there and not be absolutely gutted.
Yes.
But again, it's more just demonstrating that.
And this is a good time time also to talk about. We'll talk about formations after, because I think you also want to say something about how choosing the best target for the grenades, right?
Yeah.
But there was a lot of discussion about formations, what they're standing in. You can see the Kasrkin are standing differently to the guard. You're able to see exactly how drastic that change would be.
Yeah, it can be really striking in terms of the visual.
Okay, and I had to say that because the tank, the Baneblade, looks very different because I got literally like the two most extreme kinds of lighting I can get on a map for the two different shots with the Baneblade in.
And a lot of, again, it's in progress, right?
Okay, this is my favourite clip, and it's the one we'll be talking about last. Sweeping fire.
Indeed.
Oh no.
So when things shoot a lot, it would be bad if they had just shot in front. So now things can also sweep their fire across an enemy unit.
Yeah.
So if you're firing at the enemy unit with something like a Baneblade that has all these turrets and all this firepower,